Good evening and welcome to the August 14th, 2017 Valley View School District Board meeting. Mr. Baduras, would you please lead us in the pledge? You want Diane to do it? All set? Thank you, Mr. Baduras. Ms. Campbell, are you ready? Okay. Mrs. Farrell, would you read the affirmation of the board? I got it. Got it? Okay, thank you.
The mission is to empower all learners to be college and career ready and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Thank you. Dr. Mitchum, the agenda, please.
I'd like to ask that the board approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Kostafi, the treasurer's report, please.
Treasurer's Action Report 5.1 represents the Treasurer's reports for July 2017, including the financials, balance sheet, summary revenue and expenditures, as well as the interim obligation payments totaling $4,711,917.08. Also, debt service payments totaling $3,578,452.02 for your consideration and action this evening.
So moved.
Motion is second. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Baduras?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Member Perrell?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes. Consent agenda items, Dr. Mitchum?
Oh, hang on. We've got a few more. Treasurer's Action Report 5.2 is the schedule of bills for August. We've got 5 funds representing $3,273,478.57, also for your consideration and action.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Member Baduras?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes. Member Perrell?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes.
We've got four other information reports: the summary of investments, property taxes received, the state funding update, as well as the school trust account activity. Just a quick note on the state funding update. This was put in the packet on Thursday. On Friday, we received a distribution from the state treasurer of $4 million. That represents payments that were due from September of 2016. And so that was, we believe, somewhat of a peace offering in that the general state aid distribution that was to happen on Thursday did not happen. And so in lieu of a missed general state aid payment, which has never happened before in the state of Illinois, the treasurer released the categorical payments from September of 2016. So that report there has not been updated. It will be updated for our next meeting. 4 million, correct.
Now, consent agenda items, Dr. Mitchum.
Yes, President Pro Tem Sikora. I'd like to ask that consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.4, board meeting minutes 7/17, 6.2 executive session meeting minutes 7/17, 6.3 student activity contract approval request, Humphrey Middle School with Yearbook Life, and 6.4 student activity contract approval request, Brooks Middle School with Life Touch. I'd ask that these be approved as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion is seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Perrell?
Yes.
Member Baduras?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes. President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes. We don't have. Okay, thank you. Board member liaison reports from my left.
I wasn't going to say anything, Deb, but Member Sikora and I attended many of the SIS, the new Student Information Systems meetings that have been held quite extensively over the past few months. And I know they've got a huge presentation that they're going to do tonight. And kudos to Nicole Haley and her team for really the research they did, the dedication they have to the new system, the hours and hours that they themselves put into this is unprecedented. So thank you for all the work that you did. And then also, Member Sikora and I attended a calendar committee meeting last week, or this week, I guess, last week. And we were planning the 2018-19 school year calendar. So believe it or not, that's right around the corner. That's it.
Any from my right?
As Three Rivers Resolution Committee, we met down in Bloomington Northern, and we are all prepared for the III Conference in Chicago in November. And I just asked this board if we would consider some of the surrounding districts did bring some resolutions, and maybe as a board we might want to consider bringing resolutions that can be voted on at the Delegate Assembly at the III in November each year.
Any others? Okay, thank you. We don't have the student liaisons yet, so we'll move on. Audience participation, is there anyone that would like to address the board? If so, please state your name and remember that due time remains 5 minutes. None here? No? Cool. Okay, action report, Dr. Mitchum. Does that go to Assistant Kendra?
No. Okay.
No action report.
Okay. So that's me now. All right, so action report 11.1. We are seeking approval to enter in a contractual agreement with the College Board to provide an aligned system of assessments for students in grades 8 through 11 that corresponds with the state-mandated SAT for 11th graders. During the 2016-17 school year, the Illinois State Board of Education mandated that all 11th graders take the SAT for the purposes of state and federal accountability. In alignment with this decision, we researched the suite of assessments that SAT provides to provide an aligned system of assessments to provide feedback for our learners that shows the progression in their college and career readiness as they progress onwards towards 11th grade. And so we are making the recommendation to enter into a contract with College Board for the purposes of providing this feedback with an aligned system of assessments for students in grades 8 through 11. And it also gives our students access to personalized online practice resources that are tied to the students' academic needs as based on the assessments that they partake in. PARCC is no longer administered at the high school level, so this assessment serves as a bridge for our 8th to 9th grade students as they are entering high school. And so the terms of the contract are included in board docs as it is shared. The PSAT PSAT, NMSQT, sorry, so many letters, PSAT 8-9, and PSAT 10 would be included in this contract, and that does include all of the materials, services, and unscoring services as well. The total cost of the contract is $63,912.80 after the discount that is provided to our district. And so this is a pretty necessary and easy decision for us to make because of the state requiring this assessment for our 11th graders, and so it just makes sense that we are providing an aligned system, and so we're seeking your approval on this item this evening.
You have a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussions? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Action Report 11.2, I'm presenting one board policy for second reading. This is Board Policy 7245, audio recordings of student-related meetings. And this was presented previously as per our normal protocol at the last board meeting for your review. And we are updating this policy in accordance with legal review and state and federal guidelines.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Budouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes. Okay, action report, Mr. Christofe.
Yes, this evening I'm presenting the tentative 2017-2018 budget. It is contained within board docs. Some key highlights: the overall budget, $285,816,000, which represents a 2.6% increase over the actuals from FY17. The operational budget, if you back out our debt service and our capital projects, $241,479,000. The major revenue changes in the budget are the tax levy, which is our largest source of revenue, slated for a 2.1% increase, which represents the consumer price index. We are obviously governed by the tax cap, and so that's the maximum that the tax levy could be assessed. That would generate an additional $2.9 million of revenue. The other large local revenue source is CPPRT, or Corporate Personal Property Replacement Tax. I checked literally before I came over here with the Department of Revenue website. There is no update available, and so for budget purposes, we've incorporated the same CPPRT revenue number as last year, which is $8.4 million. We'll continue to monitor that and make any adjustments as needed when we bring the final budget back to you in late September. General state aid. For anyone who's been following the news, we sit here today not knowing if, when, what, how much we're going to receive from the state of Illinois. And so we make a best guesstimate as to what we think we're going to receive. The last printout I saw for Senate Bill 1, which is what the Senate overrode, the mandatory veto of the governor, contained an additional $1.6 million for Valley View. So we have combined all of our categoricals, special ed, general state aid. We budgeted those the same as last year with the $1.6 million of additional revenue incorporated into the budget. Will that come to bear? It's anyone's guess. We should know by Wednesday. If the House were to override the governor's veto, then Senate Bill 1 would be applied as it was sponsored, and we believe that it would generate, again, that one additional $1.6 million. Transportation, the proration is a decrease in proration. Last year was 71%. This year it's supposed to be 80%. And so while it's still costing us $528,000 in lost reimbursement, it is an additional $290,000 with that decrease in proration. So that's a good thing, but we're still not at 100%. From the federal level, additional $2.7 million in revenue. Unfortunately, that ties to expenses, and so that's kind of a wash. It's additional dollars, but it needs to be spent in a pretty specific way. But it does cause an increase in our budget. Overall, the budget's balanced to the extent that revenue equals expenditures. But this is only accomplished by factoring in the balance of mandated categorical payments that the state owes us from last year. If the state continues to delay making reimbursement payments to districts as it has these past 2 years, our budget most likely would end in a deficit in June of 2018. That being said, we continue to project a year-end balance of between 92 and 93 days of cash on hand. That has been our target. We'd like to go with nothing less than the 90 days, which is a 25% fund balance ratio. And this budget is in line with our 5-year projection. Overall, the funding sources, $193 million would be generated locally. That would come from property taxes, fees, the corporate personal property replacement tax, interest on our investments, nutrition services, and the health insurance premiums paid by employees. The state would represent 23% of our revenue, split between general state aid, special education categoricals, and transportation categoricals, along with early childhood, bilingual, and vocational education grants. The balance, 7% or $18.5 million, would be made up from the federal contributions, and that would be primarily in the area of nutrition services, Title I and Title II, as well as IDEA, special education, and Medicaid. At this point, I am recommending that the tentative 2017-2018 budget be put on display and made available for public inspection for at least 30 days. A public hearing on said budget will take place at the September 25th board meeting, after which final adoption would be recommended. Real quick, major changes to expenditures: increase in salary costs of 3.6% in labor agreements, and an increase in instructional tech coaches that were covered via our tech lease last year, as well as additional staff for the expanded Early Childhood Center and the associated bus drivers and monitors for the expected enrollment increases at early childhood. Contracted services and bilingual, occupational and physical therapy and early childhood service providers is also built in. We're budgeting a increase in benefits, primarily in healthcare, of 4.5% in both our claims costs and fixed costs, as well as to cover any new positions. Outside placement tuition has a budgeted increase of $410,000. We've got an increase of $2.4 million in our scheduled debt service payment. We've added $75,000 to replace 3 driver's ed cars at each of the high schools. Addition of $68,000 for 75% of the cost of crossing guards in Bolingbrook. Continuation of our one-to-one technology initiative, utilizing a lease purchase as we have in the past, including the new student information system, which you'll hear about shortly, as well as increased number of Chromebooks to be distributed to the students, and a bus lease cost of $180,000 incorporated for the new early childhood buses.
So moved.
Okay, motion and seconded. So if I understood right, we have enough money to pay our teachers who's just started back today until January of 2018?
Treasurer Borg and I did a pro forma to see how long we could last if we weren't to receive any new money, and we think we can make it probably till the end of February without any money from the state. But I think there's downstate schools that will be lucky to make it to Thanksgiving without any state revenue. So
Yeah, I've heard some that say they can't make it till October,
Yeah,
till Halloween. So we're in good shape thanks to you and all the people that work in your department, so thank you. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell? Yes. Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes.
next item is an approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Romeoville, granting a variance for the use of a temporary modular office building on the grounds of Romeoville High School. This IGA, or Intergovernmental Agreement, centers on the district's request to locate a temporary modular office building on the grounds of RHS to provide space for the district bus drivers and monitors whose buses are stationed at RHS. The village has an ordinance which prohibits the use of temporary buildings for occupancy. However, the village is willing to grant a temporary variance for the district's proposed modular, subject to certain conditions. This variance will expire on August 1st, 2020, and is subject again to certain conditions, such as a timetable that outlines dates and actions by which the district must comply in order to maintain the variance with the ordinance. The timetable is related to a permanent building or building renovation to replace the temporary modular. We've had the IGA reviewed by council and is also up for consideration with the village board at their August 16th board meeting, and the recommendation is to approve the intergovernmental with the village as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes. President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes. Action report, human resource.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Hooks.
Action Report 13.1 this evening, the Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. We're seeking your approval on 162 items for certified personnel, 54 for classified personnel, 2 for classified administrative personnel, and 1 for certified administrative personnel.
So moved.
We do have our person out in the audience. Can we introduce him?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay.
Do we need to do a roll call vote?
Yes, we'll do it. We'll do it.
I mean,
Motion is seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Yes. President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes.
As President Pro Tem Sikora had just mentioned in the Consolidated Action Report this evening, we are excited to announce that we have a new assistant principal at Brooks Middle School, Mr. Patrick McGinnis. Patrick, if you could stand. Patrick has been with the district for over 6 years, teaching math, I believe, at both Humphrey and Brooks. He's held various leadership roles, and we're excited to know that he's going to be a great asset to the administration at Brooks, and we're excited to have you. Congratulations. Moving on to my next action report, 13.2. It is classified job descriptions. We're recommending the board's approval of the proposed 6 job descriptions. They were brought for your review at the information report on July 17th, and so we're seeking your approval. Executive Secretary assigned to Transportation, Executive Secretary assigned to Student Services, Executive Secretary assigned to Safety and Community Relations, Executive Secretary for Data and Assessment, and then Executive Secretary assigned to Nutrition Services and Licensed Practical Nurse.
So moved.
Motion is seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Member Perro?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Sikora?
Yes. Superintendent's information reports.
I have the first information report, 14.1 this evening, and as we've kind of shared the last couple months, we are updating a number of our secretarial job descriptions, and so this evening I'm bringing for your review 4 additional ones as listed on here, and we have reached out to the staff that are performing the duties of the union and worked in collaboration with them to come up with these job descriptions. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I plan to seek approval for these job descriptions at the August 28th board meeting.
Okay, student information system.
Good evening, President Pro Tem Sikora, members of the board, Dr. Midgham, Senior Administration. My name is Astrid Welch. I'm the Executive Director of Technology, and together with my colleague, Nikki Haley, we are going to give you a brief presentation regarding the process that Member Perro and Pro Tem Sikora provided, joined us looking at a new student information system for Valley View School District. So some of the objectives of tonight's presentation is to give a brief overview of what a student information system is, why we at Valley View are looking for a change, what was the evaluation process we utilized in order to find a new vendor for a student information system, the results of that selection process, and the features of a new student information system should we so move forward with one, and the proposed implementation and timeline. So the student information system utilized by a school district is the key data and informational system that most school districts, including ours, utilizes, and it carries student information, academic information, health information, finance information, any component regarding scheduling, and it is also the primary reporting tool to the state and to various federal agencies. It's the key student, this key information system and data system that we have in the district. Our current system has been in place since 1984, and that's due to the very talented team of individuals that we have, including Nicole Haley, the manager of our computing administrative operations team, and Leslie Panzer, who many of you know has been with the district a long time, and they are key to ensuring that our current system is being able to operate. However, that system has become outdated. It is not web-friendly. It does not provide a web interface, and it is not mobile friendly, and we've spent many years bolting on different systems in order to provide the functionality that the district needs. It is complex for us to administer on the back end, and we are looking to make a change. What precipitated making this change at this time was our vendor for our current gradebook and report card system announced the end of life of its product, the end of 2018. And rather than look to buy another gradebook that would add to this system, the decision was made by senior administration to move forward with a new system. So what are some key features that we're going to look for in the new system? It's going to be web and mobile friendly. It's going to be easy for our end users who utilize the system on a daily basis. So that's all our educators, our administrators, and support staff should be easy for them to use. And for our families who need information from us and to communicate with us, it should also provide them with a platform that's very user-friendly. In looking at the systems available, we also decided to look at only those systems that are currently supporting districts like ours, large unit school districts in the state of Illinois, and a vendor that would be able to commit to the aggressive timeline for us to have it in place by the start of school next year for most of our educators. So looking at the current marketplace, there are only a few vendors that meet that particular set of criteria, and so we would be limited to looking at those. We wanted to ensure that our process would include a robust team of individuals that utilize the system, and we were fortunate to identify 67 team members who are from 26 different roles throughout the district and support 13 different schools. And then we were able to utilize many different criteria in order to assess the vendors that fell into that different area. And I'll spend a little bit of time going through that process. So looking at the current marketplace, there are three major vendors of the student information system: PowerSchool, Infinite Campus, and Skyward. And this marketplace itself is going through some change in that the largest provider, PowerSchool, who supports a lot of small districts here in the state of Illinois, purchased the eSchools Plus platform from SunGard. And then we're also aware that Skyward, the third largest provider, is also changing its product and updating to a different platform. So there's a lot of shifting and moving currently in the vendor landscape here in the state of Illinois. We took a look at what our surrounding top 20 LUDA districts were utilizing also to narrow the field, and this chart represents three of the main providers and where they sit. Our team members were put into 4 different teams who focused on 4 different aspects of utilizing a student information system. And as I mentioned earlier, 67 team members were in 4 different teams looking at grades, assessments, and report cards, all the way through to fees, health, transportation, and bilingual. And we'd like to thank them for the work that they did. These team members then worked with looking at what we would need to include in a request for quote. Outlined here are some of the steps that we took in order to review the vendors. We asked the 3 vendors to come in for 2 60 to 90-minute sessions to go over the top 234 items that those team members identified as must-have items. We asked them to respond to a request for proposal and rank the availability that their products had of the 1,200 items that the team members identified that we needed to have as features in a new student information system. We spent 15 hours with them having them answer different questions that our team members wanted answering and doing a deep dive on their products. And we also reviewed their costs. This slide and the pyramid don't really do it justice. We spent 15 hours on the deep dive questions alone. The presentations were multi-hour presentations, and the work that the committee did to assess the needs of our district went into tens of hours. And so the whole process began in April and concluded the end of July. So it's been a pretty intensive process, and we're grateful to all those team members who spent the time at a very busy time of year working with the technology department in order to do that. Nicole Haley and Leslie Panzer were there also responsible for reviewing all that data, tabulating it, bringing it back to the team, and presenting the information so that good decisions could be made as we moved forward. So let's take a look at what we found out. So as a result of that, our team members were asked to review the data and see which of those 3 products fully satisfied their expectations for a new student information system. And as you can see, the votes for the Infinite Campus and Skyward vendors were higher than the PowerSchool vendor, in that 23% of respondents felt that Infinite Campus fully satisfied their expectations in totality. We then did an analysis of the request for proposal. As I mentioned previously, the team identified 1,213 features that should be included in either the base product of the student information system or something that we could purchase as an additional module, or that custom programming could occur. And the results are presented here. In that Infinite Campus provided 99% of those features that we identified as needing. The next closest was Skyward at 89%, and PowerSchool provided 84% of the features that we so requested. During the deep dive conversations that we had with the vendors, we realized that there were some nuances there about integration and operational aspects that were going to be key to the success of a new information system. And those key performance indicators we wanted to evaluate. And some of those things are going to have an impact on how that is used in the classroom. For example, does the student information system integrate with Google Classroom, which is our current learning management system? And as I know many of you know, we're moving forward with the integration of the Chromebooks from grades fully in a one-to-one environment from grades 4 through post-12. This year, so educators having the ability to utilize the student information system directly with the Google Classroom was really key. And there were a number of other items that the back-end technology folks who utilize and have to support the system identified. And the results of those 6 key performance indicators were that Infinite Campus met 100% of those. PowerSchool came in at second at 3 of the 6, and Skyward 2 of the 6. We are also very cognizant of the fact that this is a significant purchase for the district. We wanted to ensure that we were providing the district with a value option. Not only did the item need to meet all the expectations, but it also needed to be at a reasonable cost for our taxpayers. So we asked our vendors to provide a 3-year breakdown. Our plans are to implement the product over 2 years, and then the 3rd year represents what a typical year of utilizing the system would be. And as you can see, Skyward and Infinite Campus came in very close, with Infinite Campus being the lowest cost over the first 3 years, and Skyward having a slightly lower licensing fee subsequent to that. We also wanted to show what we're currently spending to support our information system, and the difference in price is very close to what we're spending right now. So the district is not going to see a huge delta in the change of costing that's going to occur, and I think that's significant for everyone to understand. We won't see a big increase. So with all those factors brought together, the team, after many meetings of analysis and bringing the information to senior administration, the decision was made to select Infinite Campus as our student information system. It was the leader in all areas and provided some robust back-end features that will support our educators. It met all the desired feature set with the exception of 5, and those were kind of ease of use things. Does it integrate with the email system? And so 5 items out of over 1,200 it could not meet, we felt was an extremely high level of satisfaction for us as a district. We also feel it is a value solution, and we negotiated an over $21,000 discount for the first year because, as you'll see in our proposed implementation plans, our elementary educators will not be using the program in year 1, they'll be using it in year 2, and so that represents a 50% discount in the licensing price for our elementary educators. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of changes occurring in the marketplace with SIS providers, with PowerSchool purchasing the 4th largest product that's utilized in the state. They're going to plan some merging of products. And we also know that Skyward is also changing their current platform. So that's going to require retraining on those 2 different platforms, which there will be costs involved in that. Infinite Campus is the most stable product, and that will not be needing to do any retraining. What we purchased this year will be in place in 3 years' time. So what can we look forward to in a new student information system? Well, this is just a snapshot of what Infinite Campus reports that their product includes. And as you can see, it's very comprehensive, touching all areas of our district. And we're excited about the fact that it's going to be a one-stop shop for our educators and administrators utilizing the product. And I wanted to kind of highlight some features by user. So what can our educators expect? Well, they'll have all the functionality that they have now in a web-enabled, mobile-friendly platform for student attendance, for grading, seating charts, discipline, and intervention. They'll be able to access other systems within the district, including our assessment system and our data warehouse, Mastery Manager and Decision Ed, by a single sign-on and clicking a link, because we can pass those credentials through, so it can really be their hub of their process that they utilize on a day-to-day basis. As I mentioned earlier, it integrates with Google Classroom, and it has a multi-year academic planner, so they can really ensure that students are taking classes and prerequisites in order to set themselves up for success, and those are just some key highlights. What can administrators expect? They can easily see student academic progress from one platform. They're going to be able to communicate more seamlessly with families in that the current functionality of Parent Link with voice and email calling are going to be built in. They can do some brainstorming about scheduling. They can do multi-scenario decisions there on how best to utilize the resources in their building. And they also will have access, as will all educators, to various training methods, including online video training, to ensure that new educators are onboarded very quickly and can be in the classroom being the effective teachers that they are. What can our families see? Well, they'll also have a single sign-on that every family member will be visible to a parent or a guardian. They can track their students' academic progress and see class requirements and grading and report cards. It has a multi-language editor feature, which we have purchased to ensure that our families that maybe English isn't their primary language can access the system easily, in addition to Google Translator. Online registration is going to be available, so we're very excited about that. We piloted that with the preschool this spring, and it was very successful, and we'd like to have that available for all our families to do. They can utilize it to pay their fees online, and as I mentioned earlier, the messaging is integrated into it. And then, not last but not least, technology is excited about the fact that it meets our rigorous security requirements. It has a very robust disaster recovery system. They mentioned a case where the ad center in Joplin, Missouri was sadly disabled due to a tornado, and the company were able to get their student information system up and running in a matter of hours so that school could continue, despite the fact that the administrative center for that particular school district was inoperable. It's fully compliant with state and federal reporting, has multiple different avenues for training and providing professional development, including those video libraries I mentioned, the export utility, where we utilize to support other instructional assessment systems, is very easy to use, and it has a robust local user group that we will certainly, or we've already begun interacting with them to get some feedback on the product. So if the board approve the action report which we plan to bring next meeting, then what will continue to happen? The technology department will continue to work with the committee team members to look at the processes and policies that we use in place at Valley View and ensure that the new system is configured to continue to support those. Once the data is transferred over to the new system this coming year, we'll be doing some data validity checks, and we'll lean on our committee team members to do that checking for us, in addition to the work that we'll be doing on the back end. And then we'll be meeting with them to provide a train the trainer and training model, which we are planning on providing before educators in 6 through 12 leave for the summer next year. So there's a brief outline on this slide that shows the process that we will use. And our pilot district, for want of a better word, will be summer school next year, which we hope will be our first check that the system is functioning before we launch it with our middle and high school buildings fully and educators. And then the following year, we'll be moving forward with our elementary educators. Elementary schools will be utilizing it for health and informational systems, but our elementary educators won't use it until the following school year. So we in the technology team, as I mentioned earlier, would like to thank greatly the 67 team members. We couldn't have done it without you, including our board members, Secretary Sikora and board member Pero, who are highly engaged in the process. We also heard the voice of another 105 staff members who took a survey to provide their input to us. We'd also like to thank neighboring school districts and those a little further afield, New Trier, Rochester Community Schools, and Barrington, who provided us a lot of views and input regarding our process and some information that we used to utilize for RFP. And I'd personally like to thank our computing administrative team, particularly Nikki Haley and Leslie Panzer. Nikki has really led that implementation. Could we answer any questions that you may have?
I have a question. On these cost estimates here, how, I know they said the word estimate, but how exact would these projections be?
I'm sorry, Member Badouris, how clear are the projections for implementation?
Yeah, how loose are the projections? Are they? I see here, let's say they give a discount on some things, 50% I think it was for the elementary students. How much, by your chart, your 3-year projection, how much are we holding them to that, or is this just a ballpark estimate?
No, that is not a ballpark estimate. I received that information before I wrote the information report, and those numbers are accurate.
So they guarantee these rates for the first 3 years?
That's what we're anticipated in spending. Some of those costs are associated with professional development and training, and so they charge a rate for those, and we've asked them to give us their worst case conservative estimate of how much those costs will be. So we're estimating in the first year that we'll need 150 support hours from them for training and professional development. Now, if we don't use all those hours that we purchase in the first year, we can carry those over to the second year. So we believe that we've been very conservative in those estimates. We've also bought a support contract package that also includes programming hours. And again, if we don't use those programming hours in the year that they are purchased, we can carry those over to the subsequent year, and so we would not incur that cost going forward. After the first year, we'll be able to see whether their estimates for training are on the money, and we can adjust accordingly. We do have a excellent trainer in the technology department for this student information system and other associated administrative tasks, and she, together with the rest of the team, will be very involved in the training process.
Any other questions? Nicole, would you stand up? Okay. Nicole really headed this group and did an excellent job. And Leslie, if you'll stand up. Leslie was her sidekick. Okay, and they ran most of the trainings. Thank you. There was a lot of work that has gone into this so far, and a lot of work yet to go.
And I see a lot of familiar faces of team members who were at meetings, so I think many of our audience members were at those meetings and can attest to how much time has gone into this and how solid we feel going into this recommendation, that we've looked at those three vendors very closely and we see this one rising to the top as being the solid solution for Valley View. So we're hoping that in 2 weeks' time the board will consider our action report, and we're looking forward to taking this information system that's been so vital to the system, the district here, and replacing it with one equally as strong. So
I would like to go on record in saying 33 years of our old system, I just don't think we've gotten our money's worth, so I feel we can get a few more years out of it. But
Very true, until the one dies. And thank you again so much for all your work.
So says the man holding the purse strings.
Well, the costings don't come in too bad, do they, Gary? So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Legal Services, any report?
no report.
AFT, any report? Valley View Council, any report? Valley View Office Personnel, any report? Any old business from the board? Actually, I have some. Have we resolved the issue at Romaville High School about the shot put in the discus, where those are going to go? Hi.
Good evening. Is it on? Okay. Yes. The solution that was presented to me last week was to go forward with a temporary place. It's a permanent placement that would be temporary in use, in the sense that with the kind of production that could possibly go on with the intergovernmental agreement and the possibility of the enhancement of the new structure for the permanent building addition that might be suggested with the Transportation Department with the intergovernmental agreement, it would be a 1-year temporary placement for the discus and shot put area, basically supported with a university grade netting, which created a chute that allowed for the discus to only enter into the trajectory field that would eliminate any contact with any passerbys on the local or nearby path to the baseball field. The cement pad that would be placed would be permanent in structure with the netting and everything that would be put in place in the event that an agreement is made with the village and the school board moving forward with any addition or field work to be done. That pad would ultimately then be broken up, and the netting system would be saved and used in its new location, which would be closer to the track area.
Oh, so it will be close to the track, so the kids don't have to take a bus to get back and forth?
Yes, it is in its location where it's set to be placed. It's in its closest proximity to the track without moving any of the fields or the softball fields. And we have arranged and are currently looking to enhance our fleet of vehicles in terms of like a gator and or golf carts to help transition those students and those athletes from the track area and the coaches going back and forth. Plus, with all of our new sidewalk additions to the campus, it would also those vehicles would also be used to help plow during the winter. whether it be a Gator or a four-wheel drive golf cart system, would also be transporting students back and forth. It would be like a four-seater vehicle for the coaches and the students to go back and forth in a quick fashion during a track meet.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Gary, my question to you is, how's the solar system? Is it done? All the solar panels?
Yes, solar panels are done, energized, generating electricity. They're finalizing the connections to give us the ability to have a readout, if you will, on a monitor within each building. We will be bringing a construction update to the board at our next meeting.
Thank you. Any new business from the board? Any questions from the public on any action that we have taken tonight? Any announcements from the board? Any announcements from administration?
Welcome back, everybody.
And students, we'll be seeing you on Wednesday.
Any announcements from the public? Okay. Welcome back, teachers, and welcome back, students. At this point in time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you for attending tonight.